Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you had a great weekend. It is now time once again for our daily English Flash News edition, and I'm Daniel Cook, your host, Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. More than 30 passengers from the Marina ferry that suffered a breakdown on Saturday arrived safely in Durrës today. After 36 hours at sea, the passengers are arriving in the port of Durrës. 500 passengers departed from Ancona on July 18th at 7 o'clock, but the ferry had a breakdown just 1 hour out from the port. The passengers spent the night in the middle of the Adriatic Sea, and in the morning they were returned to Ancona. They are now being brought into Durrës a few at a time because the other ferry boats belonging to the ferry line did not have the capacity to transport all 500 passengers at once. Some of the passengers said that they were terrified by the breakdown and in fear for their lives. They blamed the ferry company for not making adequate technical checks on the large ferry. The traders who were shipping goods across on the ferry were also unhappy because their goods did not reach their destination in a timely manner. Most of the goods are still in Ancona, where they have been for 2 days. The traders worry that any perishable goods will be ruined by the delay. The Durrës port authorities have said that it is up to the ferry company and to their counterparts in Bari to resolve the situation. Durrës port takes no responsibility for the event, resting the blame on the company's shoulders. The Ministry of Transport has reacted to the situation that has been created after the breakdown of the Durrës to Ancona ferry, which was carrying 500 passengers. The ministry says that a team has been set up to investigate the event and to find out why the Marina ferry broke down in the middle of the sea. They say that Adria Ferries, which is the company that operates the Durrës to Ancona ferry line, is in a licensing process and that inspections of the company are still being made. The ministry warns that measures will be taken against the company and any other companies that fail to offer good service. The increase of stock prices in the international oil market is not being reflected in Albania's market, where fuel prices have gone up slightly over the past days. The experts argue that the prices are abusive and that the government must establish control mechanisms at the retail points like they have in other European countries. According to the experts, the government stands to gain from the high price of gas because it collects more revenue from the value-added tax. For 2 months now, the Albanian fuel prices have been increasing in contrast to those of the international market. Current gas prices in Albania are at about 187 lek per liter. A day before the marathon plenary session that has been planned to discuss the bill on higher education, the Democratic Party organized a meeting with the stakeholders to discuss the bill. The professors Mark Marku and Artan Fuga are against the bill, and the Democratic chairman has asked for their help in drafting an action plan. Mr. Basha urged the majority not to approve the bill on higher education tomorrow, saying that the bill is disastrous for the Albanian students and for the education system. He said, "The bill is disastrous for the education sector and for hundreds of youth. It is a reform that minimizes the quality of teaching. This scheme will equalize the public and private universities. It will bring high tuition fees, making the attendance of universities unaffordable for the students," said Mr. Basha. The rights in the hands of the Prime Minister and that hundreds of students will have to interrupt their studies. He went on, "The law will be a fatal blow to the educational aspirations of the youth. Hundreds of youth will be obliged to interrupt their studies because of the high tuition fees. We are determined to reject the bill with all the instruments at our disposal. In today's plenary session, we will be the voice of those who reject this law. I guarantee you that the Democratic Party and the opposition will support the students and the professors and help them face this evil that is being done to them. We invite you to draft an action plan against the bill," said Mr. Basha. The two professors of Tirana University, Mark Marku and Artan Fuga, were also very critical about the bill on higher education. Mr. Marku said, "We have given a clear explanation about the risks of this bill. It will damage the education and legislative system. The bill cannot be improved and must be rejected. The stakeholders are 100% against the bill." The other professor, Mr. Fuga, had this to say: "There is not a single professor who has supported this bill. The opinion of the professors who deal with this issue should be taken into consideration." The two professors also had criticism for the Democratic Party for not taking more concrete action. They said that the opposition has only expressed its rejection of the bill through various statements, but has taken no action yet on this important issue. The bill on higher education was discussed in today's Labor Commission as well, amid debate between the majority and the opposition. The Socialist Movement for Integration has announced their rejection of the bill just one day before it is to be discussed in the Parliament. The head of the SMI parliamentary group was critical about the bill. Mr. Vasili said that there are many elements of the bill that need to be reviewed. Specifically, he was critical about the integration of medical students who have graduated from both domestic and foreign universities. He announced that he will reject the bill in the Assembly tomorrow as well. This will be the second time that the Socialist Movement for Integration has rejected the bill on higher education. The Minister of Education supported the bill, saying that it focuses on the students and that it will increase the autonomy of the universities. Minister Nicola said, "The way the higher education system functions is outdated and it needs to be changed. The reform has the students in its focus, and it will bring a new way of funding and significantly increase the autonomy of the universities." She was opposed by the Democratic MP Albana Vokshi, who said that the bill is discriminating and violates the autonomy of universities. Despite the contrast of opinions, the Commission adopted the bill in principle with only the votes of the majority members. In today's Economic Commission, the members discussed the agreement with the United States on controlling the cultivation of narcotics in Albania. The Democratic MPs accused the government of turning Albania into what they called an oasis of drugs. The Interior Minister, Saimir Tahiri, responded by declaring that the Democratic Party brought nothing but crime and impunity. He declared that the system of impunity was established by the former government. He gave mention to the fact that there are some former ministers of Sali Berisha's government who have failed to declare their assets. One very interesting development in the Commission today was that Kocho Kokodima, the Socialist MP who has been outspoken in his support of legalizing marijuana, was chosen to present the draft against the cultivation of narcotics. Mr. Kokodima was absent from the Commission today, and he was replaced by the SMI MP, Andrea Marto. Today, the Albanian Ombudsman published the problems that have been identified during the monitoring of the country's prisons in 2014. According to the report, 2014 did not see any changes to the penitentiary system in Albania. The report details that the prisons are overpopulated by up to 40% of their capacity and that the prisoners sleep on the ground or in shifts. The report indicates that in addition to overcrowding, mistreatment of the prisoners is also prevalent. The Ombudsman believes it necessary to draft alternative policies for the prison system in order to avoid this overcrowding problem. Accordingly, a draft prepared by an association called the Mechanism for Preventing Torture will be consulted with the civil society and the state institutions before being presented to the Parliament. The draft includes 80 recommendations that have been forwarded to the law enforcement agencies in order to improve the penitentiary system in the country. That's all of our news for this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Please be with us again tomorrow at the same time for more translated news in English. Thanks, and have a great night.